Hello, everyone. You're listening to the Everything Geek podcast. I'm your host, Ruari, and joining us today is a very special guest. We have Wolfe Scott, best known for playing Kitamura and Green AI in YuGiOh VRAINS. How are you today, sir?
I am excellent. Thank you for having me on. This is going to be a lot of fun.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
I'm ready. Like I got my coffee, I had my breakfast. My synapses are firing, you know?
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, getting right into my questions for you, Wolfe. First of all, can you tell us how you got into acting?
Yeah, absolutely. I started off pretty young, I'd say. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, back stateside, and my mother, I come from a small list of performers, mostly musicians. My grandfather was a country music musician. My mother also did country music, but also some classic rock stuff. And so my mom always was very encouraging of me performing and getting on stage and doing things. So kind of at a young age, she really encouraged me to get involved in theater and theater programs, not only in school, but outside the school. There was a small community theater program that was not in our neighborhood, but adjacent to. And so for several years, I participated in many shows there, musicals and straight plays, did a lot of work in high school and then eventually in college. And I graduated with a degree in musical theater and moved to New York to pursue more acting endeavors. So, yeah, I would say ever since I was a kid, I sort of fell into it more or less, but I've been in that realm ever since.
That's fantastic. It's so great to have like the support of your parents from such a young age. Because I know for some people, some actors might not have had that kind of encouragement. Like the parents might have been like, "I'm just not sure. I mean, maybe you should try and get
Yeah,
something else." Like it's nice that
be
you
a
had that
business
backing.
major.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but it's nice that you had that
Yeah.
encouragement right from the get go.
Oh yeah, it's like equal parts encouragement and pressure because there's you'll have calls and it's like, oh, like, how did the audition go, and it's like, oh, it's good, mom, everything's good. I'm not nervous or anything that you're asking me these questions. But yeah, no, she's lovely, and my father also is very gung ho about me doing this, and they give me a great deal of you know inspiring words while I make it through the craziness that is New York. So I couldn't be happier to have them, at my side.
That's fantastic. Can you tell me how you were originally cast as Kitamura in Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS?
Yeah, I mean it's sort of one of those weird show busy kind of coincidental experiences because it kind of just popped up for me. I had for a while I had been sort of interested in voice acting. I'd never attempted to do it. I never really considered it to be a. I don't know. You grow up and you watch cartoons. I mean, I watched a lot of cartoons growing up and played a lot of video games growing up, and I knew that voice acting was a career and that people were involved in it. But you never sort of think it's like for you. You never think like, oh, I could do that. It just sort of is around you. And because I'm a very on brand for everything geek. I'm a huge geek. I play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons with my friends, and I am the dungeon master. And I will, I went to school for acting, and I was really good at dialects and brogues and voices, and so I'd often do those voices for my friends. And one day, my friend who I was playing with kind of just looked at me, and he was like, "You should pursue voice acting." And my initial reaction was, that's not me. I can't. And then I was thinking, no, actually, that is an actual viable thing that I could try if I really applied myself. So I took a bunch of classes. A lot of the classes were recommended to me by other people who I went to school with who had been in the industry. I'd seen them posting, gigs they've done for voiceover and animation and things like that. And I threw my hat in the ring. I took a couple different classes in New York. And it just so happened that the classes that I took, my files, I guess my recordings were heard by the right people. And it wasn't until maybe months after I had finished the classes that I'd randomly had an email pop up in uh, my inbox and said, "Hey, would you be interested for auditioning for this role in Yu-Gi-Oh, and I mean, I'd never gotten an email like that. Once again, I'd never really considered myself voice acting on a professional level. So I was like, yeah, sure, absolutely. And I don't believe that, Kitamura was the first audition that I had. I believe I auditioned for several different characters over a course of weeks or months. I can't remember. And I'd always get great feedback, and we like that read, and we'll be in touch, and then you said you wouldn't hear back, and that can be normal for auditions. Sometimes you just don't book, but I felt good that I kept being sent things and I kept being considered, and then one day Kitamura rolled around and in my inbox, and I gave it a shot, and a couple days later I was told that they liked it and they wanted to use me, and I was very happy for that, and the rest is kind of history. It went forward from there.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's like it's just one of those interesting things about life. Like if you hadn't taken what your friend said into consideration, that you could do good at voice acting. Like if you were just like completely dismissed and were like, nah, I don't think I will. Like, I mean, you took the chance and it paid off because you eventually, got Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS after all.
Yeah, absolutely. It's life works in mysterious ways. It's all serendipity. It's all timing, and I've learned, and especially through that event, to be a lot more aware and cognizant of, of the sort of signs and portents that will pop up for you when you're least expecting it, and to kind of follow your gut instinct a little bit more. Don't always think yourself into a corner.
Yeah, absolutely. Were you a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! Prior to your casting?
I was when I was younger. When I was young, I remember watching the very first season of Yu-Gi-Oh, and all of those plot arcs. But that was also around the same time that was competing for like a lot of my childhood geek attention. Like I was also watching Pokemon and Digimon and like all of this stuff at the same time. And eventually, I remember there was definitely a point where I kind of went full sail Pokemon, and like I would go to the card game tournaments, and like I would go and I would win badges. Like I was very serious about it. So sort of my attention span for other shows and other fandoms like kind of waned in my younger days. So I kind of lost like following the show after the first or second season, but I was still very like on top of the memes and the tropes, and the everything that would pop up online, and I knew all sort of the basic structure of the show, and like how the narrative plot arcs worked. But yeah, I don't think I had really been familiar with the series except for maybe like the first season. So it was like kind of a big gap to jump back into VRAINS. I felt like there was a big paradigm shift with the show itself, but it was cool to be a part of it and sort of see that evolution and that change in the overall story.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you mentioned Pokemon, of course. Did you have any favorite Pokemon cards growing up?
Oh my god. Well, my favorite Pokemon is and will always be Bulbasaur. Don't at me. He's the best. He's number one, literally and figuratively. He is the best. Obviously, Ivysaur and Venusaur are great. As the years went on, I really got into like the dragon Pokemon. Like I love that there were just not just Dragonite, there were more dragons. And so when it came to the cards, I remember my friends and I had a deck that was all dragons. So I think it was like the main family was Salamence, and then the secondary family was Altaria, and then it had a few loose like Rayquazas in there. And it was, if I say so, I think it was a pretty brutal deck. I think it was pretty good. So yeah, I was definitely into the dragon types in the later eras. But yeah, especially when it comes to the red, blue, and just throughout life, it's always going to be Bulbasaur. He's just so cute. He's got a great little scratchy voice. I just want him to be my little best friend, follow me around. That's all I want.
Yeah, all you need from life to be happy.
Yeah, absolutely. If I had like a Venusaur who like, I could just sort of rest up against his chubby belly and take like shade from the tree, every once in a while, it's, it's paradise.
Absolutely. So, what were you told about the character of Kitamura when you went in to record your first episode?
It was pretty sparing, the information. I remember getting a small blip of info that was something along the lines of, business guy or like involved in a technology company, smart but sort of a jerk. It was like I only had like bits and pieces, and so I was already kind of thinking in my head, like what does this guy sound like? And then once I actually got to see a picture of the character, it became a lot clearer, because I feel like you could take like a mean boss voice and mean boss character in so many different realms and in so many different ways. But once I actually had a face to this description, it became much clearer in my mind how he should sound.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. So, what was the overall process like coming up with his voice? Like, were you given a lot of freedom to come up with it, or did the Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS crew give you any suggestions or ideas?
It was pretty freeform. I mean, I think I can't remember. It was a while ago. I don't know if they, initially gave me any sort of initial thought or sort of inspiring words or keywords to go off of. But basically, what I did was I had the picture, I had the description, I did 3 takes. And I did one, which was very much like the Kitamura who is in the show, kind of sort of a scraggly mad scientist, high pitched kind of situation. I did one that was, I'm thinking like mean boss, so I did one that was, it was kind of like, it's a foreman, it's a mean foreman. Like, what are you guys doing? And then, I did one that was sort of a bit more sassy. Like, maybe people don't take him seriously because he's so, oh, I can't even deal with it. I shot all three their way just to try them. And then initially, the first pick, which is the one that made it into the show, was the one they went for. So once again, it's one of those gut feeling. It's one of those instinctual kind of reactions. I should have known right from the get go that was the one that was going to make it, because that was the one that first popped into my mind. But I was like, yeah, I'll give them some variety. They can choose if they like what they hear.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to say, I could also picture him with the third voice there. That I could picture him with that one too.
Well, hey, good. Play around, mix it up.
Yeah, absolutely. So which was the more challenging character to voice on VRAINS, Kitamura or the Grain AI?
Um, well, I definitely think that the Kitamura over a period of time was more challenging, because it was about the consistency of the voice. It was about the consistency of the character. It was about trying to, because it's such a large he's such a large personality, and he's always like yelling or doing some dramatic gesture, and to make that feel like the same sort of outburst and that same style of emotional spectrum every time is more challenging. But Green AI was challenging in the day that we recorded. It was a very short recording process for him, since it's a smaller role. But it was very funny because, if I'm not mistaken, the Red AI and I, a lot of our lines are pretty much spoken on top of each other or in unison, and the whole process was, they had already had the actor for Red AI, so they just needed me to sub in the other half. And because we are robots, and I think eventually our voices were sort of modulated or pitch shifted to make us sound more robotic, the thing they really wanted from us was for our voices, our natural voices, to just kind of be on different tones, different timbres, so that you kind of get that feeling of like, oh yeah, these are two different like robots. They're like programmed, I guess, with different sounding voices, but they both have mechanical voices. So it was just kind of funny, because I remember, they were like, okay, so you're gonna be the green robot. This is the red robot's voice, and they press play, and I can't remember what was said, but it was like, this is a robot voice, or like whatever, like that was the tone. And then like, okay, now you have to go like either above or below that. So I was like, all right, this is my robot voice. They're like, no, maybe let's try higher. I was like, this is my they're like, yeah, okay, that's the one. So the challenge was more or less like always hitting that note, because that was where, because I always had to be on a different note than the other robot. So it was just funny, because there'd be moments where I'd say a line and they were like, that was great, but can you bring it back here? And I'm like, yes, I. So you're just kind of like playing this game of finding the right pitch for the robot, which was just funny. It was challenging in that it was this back and forth kind of hilarious situation. But yeah, I would say over a period of time, it was more or less making sure that Kitamura, shot for shot and episode by episode, felt like the same person and had the same crazy voice that he has. That was the bigger arc.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. But it's also interesting because, of course, in recording for animes, you have to like match the lip flaps as well. It's not just about the voice. You have to like get the words in the right time to go off the lip flaps. But it's a whole different challenge there when you have to like make with the robot voices, with the AI voices. You not only have to kind of do that with, I mean, they don't lip flap, obviously, they're robots, but like you have to like, it's a different but similar kind of challenge in the sense that you already have the other actors' lines for Red AI, and you have to like stay to a kind of just slightly above or below note. It's like that sounds like a whole other ball game entirely.
Yeah. It was like a vocal, it was like back in school doing vocal exercises, like running notes and scales. Like, where am I? Am I where, G flat? Where am I going? It was just very funny back and forth.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So what was the experience like working with the crew of Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS?
I had a lovely time. I mean, I will say, I'm very new to the industry. This was, I would say, my first professional foray into voice acting and in that sort of work. And considering that it was my, first experience working with a recording crew and like a director and sort of coach for the characters, I thought everything went seamlessly. Everyone was so kind and so supportive, and no one made me feel like, oh, this is the new guy, so treat him a certain way, or everyone was, they're very respectful, and they didn't like, I don't know, poke fun, or I mean, we had fun, we poked fun at each other sometimes, but everyone was very respectful and treated me like I was, a well-seasoned professional performer, and yeah, and I really enjoyed my time. I really enjoyed the process because it was so new to me. It was very fun learning, like you said, even things like lining up lip flaps and like getting the lines out in time. That was entirely new to me. But everyone was very accommodating and helped me find my footing. And it was not very long before I had a grip on it. So I felt like it was an excellent experience. And I'm really hoping that we work together again very soon.
Absolutely, that's fantastic. So aside from the challenges we've already talked about, were there any other big challenges you faced while working on VRAINS?
I mean, I think once again, it was all about the newness. It was all about learning the technical process of sort of making sure that the lines got out in the time, making sure it matched, making you sort of, you can kind of see the cartoon sometimes, you can kind of see the animation, but sometimes you don't, and you just kind of have to go off of your instincts and what the director's telling you, and and it's funny because you watch enough anime and you watch enough cartoons, and in your mind, you almost sort of, you already know how things are supposed to sound and how things are supposed to go. Like when there comes a time for a react in a script, like almost instinctively, like your mind is an anime mind, you're like, oh, like you just sort of hear it. But it's like training those reflexes and and following your instincts more about how things should sound and not be in your head about, you let go of the technical stuff. Like the technical stuff will come. There's a team of people who make the technical stuff work. Like, yeah, if your line is like a half a second too long, they have their magical computers that fixes that. What you have to learn is like get out of your own way, just make the art happen, just say the words in the way that you want to say them, and then everything else will fall into place. Which is not unlike, doing theater and things that I've been doing all my life, but it was just in a whole new arena, which kind of changed the context. So it was learning how to better acclimate myself to that and thrive in that environment, which was entirely new.
Absolutely. And what are your favorite memories from your time working on VRAINS?
Oh man, I mean, I don't know. Is it cheesy to say all of them? I was ecstatic. I was super happy. I just kept thinking to myself, like, holy cow, like, I am, like, as a kid, like I said, growing up watching anime and cartoons, like, my entire life, I was like, I'm, like, doing it. I'm making this character who, I mean, I don't think people will necessarily love. I mean, he's kind of a hard guy to love,
Yeah.
but I feel he's a hard guy to love, but, like, I feel like it's kind of like that Game of Thrones situation. Like, if you hate Joffrey Baratheon, like that means that he did a good job. Like, you know, you're supposed to hate that guy. So, you know, I kind of hope that people don't like me because that means I did my job as the actor. But no, I mean, like, I got to go in every day and create this experience for a whole bunch of new people, like young and old, who are going to watch and be affected by this story and this person. And it was just magical. I felt so lucky every day to be in the booth and get my new set of lines. And yeah, I mean, I would just ham it up because it was like, I mean, you know, knock on wood, and I'm knocking on wood on my side of the world here. You can't see it, but I'm doing it. Knock on wood, I get to do this again. I'd love to make more work like this happen, but you never know where life will take you. And it's just like, I'm here now, so I'm going to do this to the best of my ability, and yeah, I'm going to ham it up and I'm going to live it up because like this is the opportunity that I have in this moment. Um, so I don't know. I was just the whole time I was ecstatic, and I just loved learning new things about the show and the character. And every time there was like a new twist or a new crazy thing happening, I was like, "Yeah, throw it at me. What is this weird word they don't know how to pronounce? Cool, let's figure it out." It was great.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's a really good comparison with Joffrey as well, because, like, I mean, there's some villains that are just like that. Like, if you hate them, then that really just says that the actor did a good job, because they were, like, convincing enough that you made them not like the character, so, yeah, that,
Yeah, like I have a feeling that people are gonna be like, "Yeah, Kitamura is super annoying," and I'm like, "Yeah, he is." So that was the point. You should be annoyed by him because he's just like this. He's crazy, you know, egocentric, bad person. So yeah, you should be annoyed by him. I hope I. That's my message to everyone. I hope that you all don't like him, and that will make me happy.
Absolutely. So, which would you say has been the most challenging role in your career so far, either voiceover or otherwise?
Oh wow. Well, I mean, being that this was my first experience in the VO world, I guess this would be the most challenging. Although, you know, I felt really good about the entire thing. Like I said, the challenges were mostly technical, but the actual performance aspect of it, I felt very, very good about it. You know, in terms of the other stuff that I've done, the theater that I've done growing up, I guess the most challenging would be a long time ago. And if any of my friends are listening, they're going to laugh because we always talk about this one show that we did a long time ago, a musical called Ragtime, and it was very funny because it was just a crazy time in our lives. It wasn't a part of the school. It wasn't a part of our acting program. It was something that we as students put together, sort of independently outside of our school through a theater company that one of the students at the time had owned and directed. And so everything was made by us. Like we booked the stage, we built the sets, we got the costumes. It was very grassroots. So we were very proud of the work that we'd done. But you know, the show is very much about like turn of the century and racial relations at the time, and it's a very tense kind of show. And I was playing this character who they just call father. You know, we're all students. Everything wasn't age appropriate. I was playing older, but you know, he was sort of this guy who was stuck in his ways and it had conflicting opinions about people who weren't like him. And like for me, as a person who I like to imagine that I love everybody and I like to get along with everybody, to play a person who's so opinionated and has sort of like, even if he doesn't think it's hateful, like he kind of has a hateful heart, and to say these mean things to people was the challenge. It was, I guess, my first step into playing a villainous character. And so I kind of had to fight all of my natural instincts to just try and be an open-hearted, good person, and just sort of try to be in that mental space of, oh, well, how would a person who was cruel or was uncaring or unsympathetic to another person's plight, how would they react in this moment? But it is an amazing show, and I highly recommend if any of you have not seen or listened to Ragtime. Wonderful music, incredible message in the show. But yeah, it was definitely, that was a great challenge, both getting that show off the ground and making it happen ourselves, and then playing a very sort of the character that I was playing. Was interesting.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely amazing. I mean, right from the start, like just you and your friends putting it all together, doing the show yourselves and then playing a villainous character like that. Yeah. Some people are very opinionated, so it's, interesting, to kind of get into that space, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, you had to step outside of yourself because you realize the show's happening at a different point of time, and there are different. It's just a whole different world for these people, and then it's entirely foreign to your perspective and your social climate, and to try and adopt those mentalities and mannerisms. But that's the fun of it. That's also the fun of being an actor and getting to wear those shoes for a day. It's challenging, it's hard work, but it's at the end, I guess it's fun work. I guess it's not hard. I guess it's not work. I guess it's just fun, but it feels like work in the moment when you're getting there.
Yeah, absolutely. My final question for you, Wolf, do you have any upcoming acting roles or any other projects that you would like to talk about?
Yeah, I got some irons in the fire, as they say. Well, once again, I'm hoping that more BO stuff will come down the pipeline for me. I'd love to work, on Yu-Gi-Oh again, or some Yu-Gi-Oh adjacent project. I have had auditions for other cartoons and animations. Within the time that Yu-Gi-Oh rolled around, and I got a lot of great feedback once again and like good notes, but nothing yet. Fingers crossed, we'll see. So in that realm, I'm not sure, but other stuff. If anybody's listening, if you are around New York or you have friends in New York, I'm a member of a theater company here called The Tribe. So if you look for us at Instagram, it's at The Tribe Theater Co. And we've been around for 3 years. We have done a major show, major production for every year that we've been established so far. And in between those shows, we will do smaller projects like reading series of new plays for upcoming playwrights. And we also hold open mics once every month called Works in Progress, which are very supportive environments for new artists to come and share their work, whatever that may be, wherever in the process you may be like, don't feel like you have to come and bring a masterpiece. Like, I remember the first time I played the open mic, I've only been teaching myself mandolin. I play some musical instruments, and I'd only been playing mandolin for like a little less than a year, and I only knew like 5 chords. But I was like, hey, I wrote this song with 5 chords, so here it is. But the room is great. So definitely we're going to have new projects coming up for the Tribe Theater Company, new plays coming up, so keep an eye on that. I also, talking about my nerdy D&D stuff, a bunch of friends and I, we are sort of filming, I guess, a D&D Let's Play, because that's a cool thing to do nowadays, which is not live yet, but it should be live this year. We have to re-film some stuff, and we added 2 new cast members, but it's called Level 1 Adventuring, and that's one like the number 1, so it's at level spelled out 1 Adventuring. So you can follow that on Instagram. We posted a little bit, but I mean, we're obviously going to be posting more once the show really kicks off in a couple of months. So you'll hear me do lots of crazy voices for monsters and wizards and all the stuff that we love when it comes to fantasy medieval stuff. And then finally, that I can think of right now, my roommate by the name of Jacob, he is a really creative, smart guy, and he does a bunch of podcasts of his own. And he has one right now, which is called Doveport, and it's kind of like a dramatized, sort of fictional radio play, dramatized kind of thing. And I am playing a role on that show as well. So it's kind of about this guy who actually, I won't give it away. You know what? You have to listen to it. You have to listen to it to figure out what it's about. But if you want to follow that, that is once again at Instagram. That is at Town of Doveport, and you can find that pretty much anywhere podcasts are done nowadays. But yeah, you'll hear me on that show as well, doing some voice acting stuff. So yeah, that's kind of my projects right now. More stuff in the future, hopefully. Fingers crossed. But those are kind of the 3 major ones.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic. Well, best of luck with all of them.
Thank you.
So that's all of my questions for you today, Wolf. It's been a pleasure talking to you on the podcast.
Absolutely. I had a lot of fun. I felt like I just sort of babbled, but it was, it was good babble. It was great babble. And I really appreciate you reaching out and giving me the opportunity to talk to everybody.
Yep, you're very welcome. And it was definitely good babble. Hopefully, we can talk again sometime.
Yes, I would love that. That'd be so much fun.
Yeah. So I'll look forward to talking to you again sometime, Wolf. Thanks again for joining us today and take care. Bye.
You too. Absolutely. See you, everybody.
Bye. Time to wrap up today's show. Make sure to check out our podcast links, check out our website.everythinggeekpodcast.com/EGP. Check out our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/everythinggeekpodcast. Check out our YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/user/everythinggeekcast. Check us out on Twitter, twitter.com/everythinggeekp. Check us out on Instagram, instagram.com/official everythinggeekpodcast. Check out our Mixcloud profile, www.mixcloud.com/everythinggeekpodcast. Email us at the following email, everythinggeekpodcast@gmail.com. Check out our companion podcast, Everything Geek Comic Cast, www.facebook.com/everythinggeekcomiccast. Make sure to check out the hosts' YouTube channels. Mine is www.youtube.com/user/septusdestroyers. Check out Wolfe Scott on Instagram, www.instagram.com/thewolfscott, and check out channel 1138 where we broadcast live from, www.channel1138.com. Geeks out, everyone.
Animated and voiced in Japanese here in the States or anywhere, you're acting and performing, but you're also trying to match what they call the lip flap. So it is
just a sweetheart. We were all amazed when he got cast as a villain in this movie, because he usually plays very silly, goofy characters. He's very tall and yeah, usually ends up playing character roles that are